Today, we are going on a journey, a deep dive into some of India's biggest stock market scams. And let me tell you, these weren't just about money getting stolen. No, these were seismic events, earthquakes, that literally reshaped our country's entire financial landscape. You know, it's the one question every single investor asks themselves, right? Is this market a genuine path to building wealth? Or is it just a massive casino, a gambler's trap? We all hear those incredible success stories. But is that really the whole picture?
Because for every story of a fortune made, there's a darker, cautionary tale lurking in the shadows. For all the opportunity it offers, the market has also been the stage for some truly devastating frauds and elaborate deceptions. And if we're going to talk about that history, there's only one place to start. With one man and one scam that became a defining moment for the entire Indian financial world. This was it. The scam that introduced a whole generation of Indians to the sheer scale of financial fraud. And it was all orchestrated by one incredibly ambitious broker, Harshad Mehta, a man who would forever be known as the Big Bull. Just look at that number, 4,000 crores. You have to understand, back in 1992, that figure was absolutely astronomical. It sent shockwaves through the entire economy. So the question is, how on earth did one person manage to pull it off?
Well, the method was, in a way, deceptively simple. First, Mehta illegally siphoned off huge amounts of money from the banking system. Then he used fake bank receipts, basically fraudulent IOUs, to hide what he was doing. And finally, he poured all that cash into a few specific stocks, creating a massive, completely artificial bubble.
Now, the Harshad Mehta scam was a massive wake-up call. It led to tighter regulations and gave the market watchdog, SEBI, some real teeth. But did the fraudsters just pack up and go home? Not a chance. They just got more creative. And that brings us to Ketan Parekh. Right at the height of the dot-com boom, Parekh, who was actually a protege of Mehta's, decided to use a very similar playbook. He just adapted it for the new era of tech stock mania. See, he had his favorite stocks, a group of 10 tech companies that got nicknamed the K10. He illegally used money from banks to pump up their prices, creating this huge bubble that eventually burst, resulting in a 1,200 crore rupee fraud. But the next big shock to the system wasn't from another broker. No, this time, the threat came from inside one of India's most admired IT companies. And this was a totally different kind of lie. 7,000 crores. This number represents a whole new level of fraud. It wasn't about temporarily manipulating stock prices anymore. This was about fabricating the financial health of an entire public company from the inside out for years and years. The lie came directly from the top. The company's founder, Ramalinga Raju, just came forward one day and confessed to faking profits and inventing assets for years. He had fooled everyone, auditors, investors, the whole market. The news absolutely shattered the public's faith in corporate governance.
You know what's really fascinating is when you lay it all out like this, you see a clear pattern emerge. A huge scam happens, public trust is destroyed, and only then are the regulators forced to step in and make stronger rules. It's this endless cycle of crisis, reaction, and evolution.
And that brings us to the modern era. We have tougher rules, more advanced technology, but the basic tricks of the frauds trade, oh, they are absolutely timeless. A perfect example of this is the NSEL scam. This was a clever one because it showed that fraud had expanded beyond just stocks and into the commodity trading market, a place many investors thought was a lot safer.
At the National Spot Exchange Limited, investors lost a staggering 5,600 crores. They were sold these contracts that promised safe returns, supposedly backed by real physical goods sitting in warehouses. The problem? In a lot of cases, those goods, they just didn't exist.
And one of the oldest tricks in the book is still one of the most dangerous today, the classic pump and dump scheme. It's a trap that preys on greed and that fear of missing out, especially among newer retail investors. Okay, so here's how it works. It's a simple, predatory playbook. First, operators quietly buy up tons of shares in some cheap, unknown company. Then they start the hype machine, spreading fake news, insider tips on social media, you name it. As excited investors rush in, the price skyrockets. And right at the peak of the frenzy, the operators dump all their shares. The price instantly collapses, leaving everyone else holding worthless stock. So after hearing all these horror stories, what can we actually learn? Well, these stories, from Harshad Mehta all the way to modern-day scams, offer some incredibly powerful lessons that can act as your personal shield against fraud.
All right, let's get practical. First, be incredibly skeptical of any stock that shoots up without a clear, fundamental reason. Always dig into the official, audited financial reports. Don't just follow rumors. Make sure you're dealing with a reputable, SEBI-regulated broker. And maybe the most important rule of all, there is no such thing as a guaranteed profit in the stock market. If an offer sounds way too good to be true, it almost certainly is.
This quote from Philip Fisher just perfectly captures it. Chasing a rising stock price without understanding the real underlying value of the company is a recipe for disaster. That's the critical difference between true investing and just gambling.
Here's the bottom line. Fraud will always evolve. The next big scam won't look exactly like the last one. The only constant in the market is risk, and your only real shield against it is knowledge. So the question I'll leave you with is this. Are you prepared to tell the difference between a genuine opportunity and the next big trap?